All right. How's it going, everybody? So seems like the past week or so with my uploads, it seems every time I make an upload, I lose a subscriber or two. It's just the way it goes. And I don't necessarily care about that or mind that. I'm going to keep talking about what I think I need to talk about. But I want to kind of clarify why I talk about the things I do. And it's all spiritual. And I like talking about the Matrix reality, especially recently. The past couple presentations I've done have been about the metaphysics and the metaphysical. And I'm just here to let y'all know that everything I talk about is about the metaphysical. Everything I talk about is about this reality and the way it seems to be going. When I talk about women, when I talk about fathers, when I talk about mothers, when I talk about how weak men are, that has everything to do with this reality matrix and its tricks. Just to make it a little more clearer on why I talk about the things I do, because I have a feeling when a person subscribes to me, they don't expect a person to say the things that I do about women, about mothers, about fathers, about men. They don't expect that, which is fine, man. Like, that don't necessarily bother me. It's not for them. My words are not for them. You know, like the story with Jesus and the Canaanite lady, where he says to her, it wouldn't be right for the bread meant for the children to go to the dogs. And that's the way I feel about it. My words aren't for the people that don't want to listen. And I love that little story in the Bible, by the way, because she immediately comes back with, even the dogs eat the crumbs off the master's table. And that was enough to change Jesus' mind about who he should talk to and who he should preach to or whatever. And it really goes to show the humbleness that is involved with when it comes to talking to people. Because I love talking to people, you have no idea. Because you can get it out of them. And it's not like I'm doing this on purpose, but you can extract so much information from a 5-minute conversation, a 2-minute conversation. It's unreal. And can't really give an example of that right now. Maybe I'll think of one later. But you don't even have to have a conversation with somebody to really have an understanding. You can tell in their body language. Let's say, I've talked about this before, but let's say, for instance, you notice a couple, and just watching that couple for 30 seconds is enough to give you an idea of what's going on with the relationship. Like, for instance, working overnights the way I do, I see a lot of men walking behind their ladies like they're the little boy in the relationship. There's no leadership. Very rarely do I see a man leading a woman or a man leading their family coming into the store. It's unbelievably rare. I'm telling you right now, you just have to take my word for it. But just observe, like next time you're at the grocery store or whatever, I want you to watch people. Don't be a creep, you know. Glance at them, watch at them. You can kind of look at their feet and tell what's going on, where they're going. You don't necessarily have to watch their face or look into their eyes. You can just see where they're going and how they're being led and who's leading who. And this problem with women leading men, it's not working out. It's just not working out at all. Look at the way the world is right now. It's very female-centric, and not for the better. It's not working out, guys. Like, and this is where I'm losing subscribers, because I'm getting a lot of people who obviously don't see the world that way, and they don't necessarily have to see the world that way. But this is the way the world is playing out before your eyes, before my eyes, where men are incredibly weak. And I don't mean weak physically. I'm not talking about physical strength. I'm not, period. Physical strength doesn't make a strong man. It can have a little bit to do with it, that's fine. You can be a big, strong man and be a big, strong leader spiritually as well, where you're the father, you lead your family, you protect your family. And I'm not talking about physical things. Like when I say protect your family, I'm not talking about physical. Get that idea out of your head. I'm talking about spiritual. How do you protect your family from being attacked spiritually? These movies, these TV shows, YouTube videos, whatever. The ideology. Protecting them from ideology. And not even necessarily protecting them. You give them the tools to protect themselves. You point out the nonsense. You say, this is the way the world's working out, and it's not correct. It's not the order of God. And they have to see it through you. They have to see you lead in order for that to work out the way it's supposed to work out. You can't be a weak spiritual leader and say these things and suddenly become some kind of a leader or guru. It's not going to happen. You can't do that. You can't do anything about that. It's either in you or it isn't. And I'm trying to help people wake up spiritually in that way. And I don't know to what degree it's my business. And it's really not my business, because I should really just be focusing on myself. And I talk about this with people any chance I get. It's so important. It's so important. And I'll be the first to point out the weak men or the crazy women. And there's a lot of crazy women out there, and there's a lot of weak men out there. And weak men are the problem, because they let these ladies trample all over them. They let them get into politics. And this all goes back to the 1930s. You can trace it back to the hippie gen, and all that hippie generation shit started in the 30s and 40s with this twisted feminist movement. And there's a meme out there where it shows the contrast between 2030 and 2020, 2023, where it has these women in the 1930s section kind of holding signs up for women's rights and all that nonsense. And 100 years later, they're out burning their bras on the streets and protesting with their naked bodies. It's like, it's just a generational decay. It all starts with the women from back then up until today. And I'm not necessarily blaming it all on them, but this all started with Eve, right? Adam was the first weak man. Eve was the first crazy woman. And that led into the story of Cain and Abel. And to me, those two stories, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know about Genesis in order to understand what's going on today spiritually. Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. And you can go further than that. I think the entirety of Genesis encompasses what's happening right now. You don't even have to read beyond that. But it's helpful to not necessarily learn, but to have an understanding about what Jesus went through, the crazy people that he encountered. And I feel for him, man, because it's like he rather hang out with the vagabonds and the prostitutes and the crazy people than hang out with normies. And he said it himself, his words are for those people. The people that needed help the most. And that's the way I feel. I'd rather deal with the crackheads, I'd rather deal with the meth heads, than deal with these more moral, religious people around here that are so far up their ass that they don't even see what they're doing to destroy their own families. And that's why I'm talking about this kind of stuff. It's not about just the Matrix. It's not just about the Matrix reality cube. It's not just about the simulation. It's what's happening in the simulation is important as well. Because you'll never hear anybody talk about this kind of things but me. I'm the only one talking about this. Me, that's it. Not even Jesse Lee Peterson. He's not talking about the reality matrix. I am. Because it all wraps together. The spiritual issues that we're dealing with now has everything to do with the matrix and the tricks that are being played on us right now as we speak. Every single thing, consumerism, all marketed towards women. Why? Because they're weak. They're weak in the spirit. The devil goes after the weakest link every time. And that just happens to be the ladies. Sorry, ladies. You either realize this about yourself or you don't. And if that bothers you, go ahead and unsubscribe. It's fine. I understand. Like, you have no idea. No hard feelings. Because the last person you need, well, actually, no. You need me. You need me to say these things. You need me to piss you off. Anytime I talk about women, I want you to look at me and go, and I'll be the scapegoat. I'm fine with that. You need to be pissed off. That means you're thinking. Because I've pissed off people before, and later on they come to me like, oh, you really ticked me off, but I understand now. I understand why you said the things you did. And I'm not saying anything to try to piss people off. I'm really not. But it seems to be the case where I say something and then they get pissed off. And that's fine. Go for it. It's really not my problem. Because if you're getting mad, that says everything you need to know about yourself. That's amazing. Anytime you have anger towards somebody, anytime somebody teases an emotion out of you, you need to thank them because they're making you look at yourself. And I'm not saying let someone mistreat you. I'm not saying that at all. Speak up for yourself. Defend yourself, obviously. But the ladies out there who are listening, I know you're out there. There's at least about 20 of y'all. Because I did the math with the demographics on my YouTube studio. And I got about 15, 20 females that listen to me. That's amazing. That's unbelievable that any woman at all would listen to me. Anyway, guys, I really wanted to get that off my chest. And like I said, the social issues. And I don't know if this was a compliment, but somebody in one of my comments said I seem to be an intellectual in the social department, which is, yeah, basically. They said that I was intelligent socially, which I guess that's true, but I don't take it as an insult. Because it all wraps around itself. It has everything to do with synchronicities, Mandela effects, the reality matrix cube that I've talked about recently, the program that's running in the background, the Black Mirror, the man behind the curtain, that's a big one, the devil, spirituality, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism. It's all the same thing, guys. And this is why I say the things that I do. Anyway, like I said, I'm getting it off my chest. If it resonates with you, leave a comment. Have a discussion with me, because I'm super open to anybody criticizing me or telling me things. Tell me to fuck off. I would love that. But talk to me, guys. Don't be a stranger in the comments. Have a nice day. Alright, guys. This is going to be part 2 of the last audio recording I did. It's pretty amazing because I did that audio recording maybe like a week ago. And the point I made was actually the point I was trying to make. A comment that YouTube decided to delete. And it's gone from YouTube Studio. It's gone from the comment section. It's not even hidden. It's just gone. And I was replying to something that was asked of me that was very specific, where it was regarding the video where I talk about the wig, that black lady's wig that came off. And I made some very bold claims that all of those women have shared shame involved, because they've been taught since they were little girls to hate their bodies, to hate their hair, to hate their skin tone, to hate the flesh that they're in. And I mean every word of that. I'm not backing down from that at all. But somebody asked me a very, very important question, and I'm surprised it took this long for somebody to ask that. And I appreciate it, by the way. Like I said, the comment I left was deleted, and at the very end of all of the things I said, I thanked him. I said, thank you for asking that. Thank you for pointing it out. And he basically asked me, do I hate women? He said, because you seem to talk a lot about them in a negative way. And I'm just pointing it out. I'm just pointing out the nonsense. And in the last audio recording, I re-listened to it and I realized I said pretty much everything I wanted to say about that subject. And I'm not letting it go. Because I notice these things when it comes to fathers and mothers. And there's a big difference because I've been doing customer service for over 20 years by this point. So I've seen a lot of people. And especially these last 5 years or so, I've noticed the behaviors of mothers and fathers when it comes to dealing with their children, when it comes to interacting with their children, in public, by the way. This is all out there. This is all in the public. If you just keep your eyes open, if you just watch people, like I said in the last recording, don't be a creep. just have your eyes open and watch, because you're going to notice that, and this isn't true for all people, obviously, but generally, mothers treat their children very badly. It's almost as if they're getting dragged along, the children are getting dragged along. They don't even want to be around their own mothers. And I understand completely. And when I noticed fathers, let's say a father comes in by himself with, it's just the father and the child, like let's just say, for argument's sake, 6-7-year-old child comes in. It don't matter the gender, by the way. Like, the gender does not matter when it comes to the child. But when they come in with their father, they're following right behind them. They're listening to every word they say. The father, like, you can tell they're looking up to the dad. And it's like the little duck with the big duck, following the big duck around. Like I said, it's just the complete opposite with the ladies. And when they come to the counter to check out, the kids usually seem patient and just waiting. Like the father does. The father's just waiting patiently, checking out his shit and leaving. But when I see the mother, and again, the gender don't matter when it comes to the children. Mother, daughter, mother, son, they don't want to be there. And they're being treated very badly, because I've heard this joke so many times. I'm going to tell you the joke where, let's say the kid is acting up, which is a lot of times they're gonna be acting out when it's just the mother and the father isn't around. Let's say the mother just, as I'm checking her out, the mother will look at me and go, "Hey, do you want to adopt a kid?" Like it's a cute little thing to say that mothers love to say. And if you've never been around it, you had to just take my word for it. I've heard that stupid joke so many times, and never really gave it much thought. I just thought it was something that people just say just to be stupid, just to say words, because people just love to fucking talk. They think they're comedians. They think they're Chris Rock on stage telling jokes all the time. And it's really fucking obnoxious, to go off on a tangent here. It comes from both men and women. This thing where they think they're fucking comedians. And they're just not funny. Like, stop it. Like, your jokes aren't original. You're not a comedian. Just shut up. It's not funny. Quit it. Anyway, even though I'm kind of smiling about it, but to get back to the subject at hand, women, the mothers, when they're dragging their children around the store, it's always drama. Like, it's even worse if it's in this situation where it's the grandmother, the mother, and the granddaughter or the grandson. And it's like you see 3 whole generations of destruction right in front of you. And a lot of y'all are going to say that I'm just projecting this. I just hate women and I'm projecting. It's like, no, I don't hate women. But I feel like I'm one of the only people in the world right now that's calling out this stupidity and this nonsense. And this narcissism, this absolute curse that seemed to be affecting women the hardest. Satan's influence works through the females. Because like I said in the last recording, they're the weakest link. And the way to get to the father, the way you get to the husband, to the male, to the man, to the masculine, the way you destroy the masculine is through the woman. That's the chink in the armor, the kink in the armor, whatever the phrase is. Something like that. That's the crack in the wall that the snake can slither through and get into the garden. Let's put it that way. And it's like the women don't have it in them to be leaders. For the most part. And I understand there's exceptions. We're not talking about that. I'm making generalizations, okay? And you can get on to me about making generalizations. I actually don't mind that, all right? Because like what this guy told me, you just hate women. It's like, yeah, good. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for showing your courage and calling me out. Because I need to be called out on everything I say, because it needs to give me an opportunity to reflect on myself, first and foremost. Because I'm the one that has to live in this body and to live in this mind. And I'm going to tell you what's my rationale for all of these things. I'm not afraid of that. And this is all generational trauma, guys. All generational. That's why I say when I see that it's a grandmother, the mother, and a grandson or daughter coming in, and you can see the curse play out in front of you because it's always a mess. I don't think I've ever seen a trio come in like that where they seem to have their shit together, even when the man is present, because if the man's surrounded by that much feminine energy, it's just disaster. Like, he's not even allowed to have balls by that point. And I'll give you a good example. When it comes to my daughter, I like taking her out when I have days off. And like I said about my job situation, that's going to change a little bit, but it shouldn't change too much. We got summer vacation coming up, so I'm going to make the time to take her out and do things, go to the movies if she wants to, right? She's getting older. She's going to be a teenager in another year or so. She's going to be 12 soon, so she's going to get to the point where she don't want to hang around her dad, which is fine. So I'm going to try to get it in when I can, talk to her when I can. And here's the thing with her and I have a really easy time speaking to her about things, and she has a really easy time speaking to me about things. And I tell my daughter all the time, look, I'm telling you these things. You don't have to agree with me. When you get older, you're going to have your own opinions. I want you to consider these things. I want you to watch other people and see yourself in those other people. Because the hell that you go through when you have anxiety and all that, the anxiety that you feel is the anxiety other people feel as well. It's just they either have an easier time hiding it, or they don't have an easy time hiding it at all. And they're just out of control. And the ones that are out of control are suffering just like we are. And I know maybe that's too much for a small child, but she's 11. She's going to be 12. I've been having these conversations with her since she was 8 years old. And she asked me, I can tell she's paying attention, because she asked me one day, she's like, hey, Daddy, how come when my classmates start acting crazy, they don't just sit still? They don't just, she didn't say be in the present, but she meant like, how does she word it? Let me think for a second. I can't really think of exactly what she said, but she said something along the lines of, why can't they just be in the present and calm down, essentially? I said, you're going to deal with a lot of people in your life, your classmates, even your teachers, and I pointed out to her all the time to pay attention to her classmates, and especially pay attention to her teachers, because she's going to deal with a lot of crazy female teachers in her life. And she's going to run into some bad apples on the masculine side too, the male side. And those guys aren't really men. They're cowards. They're weaklings. But she's going to have to be dealing with majority female her whole life. And I tell her all the time, look, the world is being ran by women right now. And it's not going well. It really isn't. All this emphasis on mental health and anxiety and depression and suicide, all these buzzwords are getting thrown out to us on purpose so that we won't discover ourselves. And when she asked me that, and she asked me this like maybe when she was, I want to say maybe 10, which was amazing to me because I can tell she's paying attention, and that's awesome. And, I tell my wife these things and all that. And I find my wife repeating some of the things I say, which is great. She repeats these things to her mother a lot of times because she's starting to see the trauma in her mother that her own mother, my wife's grandmother, passed down to her. And I keep telling her, look, it keeps going back. You keep bringing it back. Go further back. Think about it. Think about your father's mother and your father's grandmother. What did he go through? What did they do to him? And her father was raised by women as well. And he got the hell out of his house at 18. Basically hooked up with the first woman he saw that would accept him. That old chestnut. And it's like, they had a life together, and it was a rocky road. It was a really rocky road. And I tell my wife all the time, it's like, you can't hold it against your father for doing the things he did to your mother, the things he did to you. You have to let it go, because you're living your life right now and he's dead. But you're still carrying this rock on your back of the things your father did to you. And what he did to your mother had very little to do with you. And it seems cruel and unusual to say it that way, because, it did affect her, and I understand that. But I'm saying, like, he married your mother, he picked her, she picked him, and they didn't make the best decisions, and you have to forgive both of them for that. Because they had a gleam in their eye. They were horny on main, like the kids say. And they hooked up, had some babies, and barely took responsibility for it. Kept them alive long enough to be adults and get out on their own. And I guess that's the best you can ask for, man. Is to stay together and make sure your kids don't die, because mothers aren't even doing that nowadays, dude. Like, look at the divorce rate. Please. Look at the abortion. Please. Open your eyes. Look at the statistics. And statistics can lie. I understand that. They can be fabricated. But just look around you. Look at your own family. What is going on in your own family, your own blood family? Are your parents separated? Do you have stepbrothers and sisters? How many times has your father been remarried? How many times has your mother been remarried? Think on these things. This is not right. None of this is right. And that's what kind of frustrates me about it. Because I, honest to God, feel like I'm the only one who sees this. Every day I'm like, man, to be a little personal here, like, every day I'm like, why are you even running this channel? Me talking to me, like Satan talking to me in my head, right? Like, why do you have a YouTube channel? Like, you're not an influencer. What are you doing? Like, those thoughts come into my mind. But it needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. It really does. And you can think that I hate women all you want. That's fine. And maybe you do, maybe you don't. It was just a question, right? You asked me, do you hate women? I love women so much, I'm willing to tell them the truth. Because, let me tell you, like, once my fear went away, the filters were gone. It's like, once I forgave my mom, I'm telling you, man, the moment I forgave my mother, the fear went away completely. And like, so all of a sudden I could be honest with people. I could be honest with women. I could talk to women just fine. I wasn't afraid of them anymore. The whole reason, like, I used to hate women. Like, I used to hate my mother. And that it was because I was afraid, because I had that fear inside of me. And that's what's driving everybody right now. They're so afraid of their mothers that they can't be honest with women. Like, I've talked about Karina, and she was pissed off at me, and I think it really does, like, it really takes pissing somebody off to get them to think. Because, and in the last recording I made a statement where all you have to do is have like a 5-minute conversation. And dude, you that's so true. You have no idea how true that is. Because I've spoken to several people now, and I can extract so much information about their lives from a 5-minute conversation. Because with Karina, all I had to do was ask her where she was from. What are you doing in Louisiana? You know, that old conversation, like just having a conversation. I didn't have an ulterior motive. All I asked her was, I was like, oh, you're from Mexico. What part of Mexico are you from? And then she explained how she moved to Oklahoma, how she got to Louisiana. And it all revolved around her terrible father. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. That old fucking story again. Because guys, it's the same fucking story over and over and over again. If you just pay attention to the people around you, they will tell you the same goddamn story every time. I've talked about Emily before, same story. She hated her father. I said, I don't care what he did to you, you shouldn't hate your father. Because you're living your life right now in the present, and if you're carrying that rock of hatred, you're still carrying that rock of hatred. It's not doing you any good. And yeah, I pissed her off too. But they sat on it, Karina and Emily. Like, smart people, intelligent people. Like, these are women. It'd be ridiculous to say that I hated them because I asked them questions about their lives, and I told them, I gave them my opinion. You shouldn't be hating your father. You're being lied to in some way about your life. That was Karina's story. And lo and behold, her mother lied about everything. All of the suffering Karina went through was for nothing, dude. All of the bullshit she went through. She's been homeless multiple times. The lesbianism. Getting married to a woman. Just this crazy lady adopting all these children. Not Karina, but the other lady that she married, like, adopting all these children just for government money. Getting wrapped up in all that. And Karina trying to do the right thing. And finally just saying she's gonna fuck off because it's not good for her. She went through all of that for nothing, dude. This is how serious it is. You're suffering for no goddamn reason. And it's the same story. Look within yourself. Look at your own life. It's the same story of me. It's the same story of her. It's the same story of Emily. Same story of my wife. Same story of her mother. Same story of her grandmother. Same story of Adam and Eve. How many times do I have to fucking say it? Anyway, I apologize if I came off a little fired up. It is what it is. I think that'll be the last recording. It looks like this is going to be about 30 minutes long altogether, which is great. As soon as I get this edited, I'll push it out there. Y'all have a great day.